I'm a 29F living with my boyfriend James, 30M, for the past 3 years. Our story began at my friend Rachel's housewarming party where we first met. Rachel, 29F, worked at a tech company and had invited her coworkers, including James. That night, we talked for hours about everything from our career goals to our shared love for hiking and photography. James was different from guys I had dated before. He was ambitious, caring, and seemed to have his life figured out. After dating for a year, we decided to move in together. James worked as a software developer at a growing tech company while I ran my own online jewelry business. I started this business after my previous relationship ended badly. My ex had cheated on me with his coworker, leaving me heartbroken and unable to focus on my corporate job. James was incredibly supportive during this transition. He encouraged me to pursue my passion for making jewelry full-time and even helped me set up my online store. Our relationship was solid for the first 2.5 years. We had our routines, weekend hikes, cooking dinner together, and monthly game nights with our friends. James would often surprise me with little gifts or help me package orders when my business got busy. We talked about marriage and our future together. Everything seemed perfect until about 6 months ago. The changes were subtle at first. James started staying late at work more frequently. He said his team had taken on new projects that required extra hours. I believed him because he had always been honest with me. Then I noticed he became very protective of his phone. He would never leave it unattended and always kept it face down. Even when he went to take a shower, the phone went with him. Last week, while James was in the shower, his phone kept buzzing with notifications. Something felt off, so I decided to check. There were 2 contacts saved under his mom's name, Sarah. I already had his mom's number saved since we talked regularly about recipes and life in general. This new number had our city's area code, not his mom's. Looking through his recent calls, I found numerous calls to and from this number, mostly during his late work hours. My heart racing, I checked his apps and discovered Tinder downloaded 3 months ago with an active premium subscription. James had always criticized dating apps. He used to say they were shallow and meaningless, yet here he was, paying $10 monthly for premium features. When James came out of the shower, I confronted him. He first tried dismissing it, saying Sarah was just a work colleague and he randomly saved her number under his mom's name because he was in a hurry. When I mentioned Tinder, he claimed his friends were all using it and he downloaded it out of curiosity. According to him, it was just casual and meant nothing. I reminded him how differently I handle such situations. Whenever a guy approaches me, even for casual conversation, I immediately mention having a boyfriend. James has many friends who are always ready to hang out, so there was no need for him to seek new connections, especially with a woman whose contact he deliberately disguised. The betrayal hit harder because James knew my history. My previous relationship of 4 years ended when I discovered my ex was having an affair with his coworker. James had been my friend then, offering support and promising he would never do anything to break my trust. Yet here he was, following the exact same pattern. I decided to reach out to Rachel since she worked at the same company. What she told me made everything worse. Sarah wasn't just any employee, she was James's new team lead who joined 3 months ago. Rachel had seen them getting lunch together almost daily, something James never once mentioned to me. She also noticed they would often take coffee breaks together and seemed very comfortable around each other. Some red flags I had ignored now made sense. James had stopped sharing details about his workday. Earlier, he would tell me about his projects, his colleagues, and office politics. Lately, his answers had become vague. When I asked about his day, he would just say it was fine and change the subject. Also, his behavior during our recent weekend trips had changed. He would constantly check his phone and step away to take calls, claiming they were work-related emergencies. There was one hiking trip where he seemed distracted the entire time, barely participating in our usual trail games and conversations. Our physical intimacy had decreased too. James started going to bed later, saying he needed to catch up on work emails. When I tried initiating intimacy, he would either be too tired or say he had an early meeting the next day. I had attributed all this to work stress, but now everything pointed to something else. The past few days have been difficult. James keeps apologizing, promising to delete Tinder and maintain only professional contact with Sarah. He says I'm overreacting to an innocent friendship and that nothing inappropriate happened between them. But his actions tell a different story. Why hide her contact under his mom's name if everything was innocent? Why pay for a dating app while in a committed relationship? I'm staying at Rachel's place now, trying to figure out what to do. James has been calling and texting constantly, switching between apologizing and defending his actions. Part of me wants to believe him because we've built a life together over these 3 years. But another part remembers the pain of my previous relationship and sees the same patterns repeating. Rachel thinks I should dig deeper before making any decisions. She mentioned that other colleagues might have more information about James and Sarah's interactions at work. But I'm not sure if I want to know more. The evidence I already have shows a clear pattern of deception. Now I need advice on whether to give James another chance or walk away before things get worse. Update 1: After my last post, many of you suggested I investigate further. The past 2 weeks have been eye-opening, revealing things I never expected to discover. Rachel has been incredibly helpful in uncovering the truth about James and Sarah's relationship at work. According to Rachel, their lunches weren't just casual team meetings. They would spend hours together at nearby cafes, often returning to the office looking very cozy. Other colleagues noticed their closeness too. At team meetings, they would sit together, sharing inside jokes and exchanging knowing glances. Some co-workers even thought they were dating because of how comfortable they seemed with each other. Rachel started paying more attention to their behavior after I told her about finding Sarah's number. She discovered that on days James claimed to be working late, his desk would be empty by 5 p.m. She once spotted them leaving the office together around that time, heading towards the parking lot. When she mentioned this to other team members, they confirmed this was a regular occurrence. The worst revelation came when Rachel checked the office sign-in logs for the dates James said he was working late. She had access to these as part of her HR duties. On most of those nights, both James and Sarah had signed out early. This means all those times he texted me about staying late for work, he was actually spending time with her. Their outings weren't limited to lunch breaks either. They attended team-building events together, always pairing up for activities. At a recent office party, they spent most of the evening in each other's company, barely interacting with other colleagues. James never mentioned any of these events to me, always claiming he was too busy with project deadlines. Rachel also found out they had gone to a concert together last month, the same night James told me he had an important client meeting. One of their colleagues saw them there and even took a photo, thinking they were a couple. When Rachel showed me the picture, my heart sank. They looked so happy together, standing close, James's arm casually around Sarah's shoulders. After gathering all this information, I confronted James again. This time, his reaction was different. Maybe he realized he couldn't keep lying, or perhaps he was tired of the deception. He broke down and admitted to developing feelings for Sarah. According to him, it started innocently with work discussions but gradually turned into something more. He claimed nothing physical had happened between them, but admitted to an emotional connection. The concert wasn't a one-time thing, they had been going out regularly, watching movies, trying new restaurants, and even planning weekend activities. All while I sat at home, believing he was working hard to advance his career. The Tinder account, he confessed, was his backup plan. He wasn't sure if things would work out with Sarah, and he wanted to keep his options open. When I asked about the multiple lies and deception, he said he didn't want to hurt me but couldn't help being drawn to her. He talked about feeling stuck in our relationship and how Sarah made him feel alive and excited again. What hurt even more was discovering that many of our mutual friends knew about this but chose to stay silent. They had seen James and Sarah together at various places, shopping malls, restaurants, even at a mutual friend's birthday party where I couldn't attend because of a business commitment. Only Rachel had the courage to tell me the truth. Some friends later reached out, apologizing for their silence. They claimed they didn't want to get involved or cause problems in our relationship. One friend even suggested that maybe James was just going through a phase and would eventually come back to his senses. Their justifications made me feel even more betrayed. I packed my essential belongings and moved in with my sister temporarily. James's reaction to my moving out has been a roller coaster. He alternates between desperate apologies and defensive accusations. Sometimes he begs me to come back, promising to cut all ties with Sarah. Other times, he says I'm being unreasonable since nothing physical happened between them. His latest argument is that I'm overreacting to a close friendship. He brings up times when I was too busy with my business to attend his office events, suggesting that if I had been more involved in his work life, he wouldn't have gotten so close to Sarah. It's amazing how he's trying to shift the blame onto me for his emotional affair. Rachel tells me there are rumors at work about James and Sarah becoming more open about their relationship now that I'm gone. Apparently, they no longer try to hide their closeness, openly having lunch together and leaving work at the same time. This makes me wonder if they were just waiting for our relationship to end so they could be public about theirs. For now, I'm focusing on my business and trying to process everything that happened. James still calls and texts multiple times a day, but I've stopped responding. Each new piece of information I discover makes it clearer that this wasn't just a simple case of boundaries being crossed, it was a calculated deception that had been going on for months. Update 2. Just when I thought I had uncovered everything about James and Sarah's relationship, an unexpected message changed everything. Sarah's boyfriend Tom reached out to me on Facebook. Yes, Sarah had a boyfriend of 5 years who lived in another part of the city. Like me, he discovered their relationship through workplace gossip that eventually reached him. Tom and I met at a coffee shop to share our stories. He brought screenshots of conversations between Sarah and James that his friend from their office had sent him. These messages revealed a whole new level of deception. They weren't just having lunch and attending concerts, they had been actively planning a future together. The messages showed them discussing apartments in different neighborhoods. All those late nights I thought James was working, he was actually viewing rental properties with Sarah. They had even started planning a weekend trip together next month. What hurt the most was reading their conversations about Tom and me, discussing how and when to end their current relationships. Tom showed me more evidence. There were dinner reservations, movie tickets, and even a booking for a weekend getaway, all under James's name. They had created a shared photo album that Tom gained access to through Sarah's cloud storage. The photos went back months, showing them together at various places, looking very much like a couple. The most shocking revelation was that James knew about Tom from the beginning. In their messages, they discussed ways to keep their relationship hidden from both of us. They would coordinate their stories, making sure their lies matched up. James even helped Sarah create excuses when Tom wanted to meet her after work or during weekends. One particularly painful message showed them laughing about a day when Tom and I were both trying to reach them. They had turned off their phones and spent the day at a nearby beach, while we worried about their whereabouts. James had told me he was in an all-day meeting, while Sarah told Tom she was visiting her sick friend. After seeing all this evidence, I confronted James again. His reaction shocked me. Instead of showing remorse, he became defensive and angry. He accused me of invading his privacy by meeting Tom and reading his private conversations. According to him, I had forced him into Sarah's arms by being too focused on my jewelry business. He brought up every small issue from our past, times when I was too tired to go out with his friends, moments when I prioritized large orders over his office events, or days when I was stressed about my business and didn't give him enough attention. He even complained about how I never showed interest in his work, conveniently forgetting how he had stopped sharing details about his day months ago. James then tried to paint himself as the victim, saying he felt neglected and lonely in our relationship. He claimed Sarah understood him better because they worked in the same field and shared similar interests. When I reminded him about all the lies and deception, he said he only lied because he knew I wouldn't understand their connection. The final straw was when he suggested that if I had been more understanding about his friendship with Sarah from the beginning, things wouldn't have gotten so complicated. He actually tried to blame his cheating on my suspicious nature, saying my past experience with infidelity had made me overly paranoid. Rachel later told me that the situation at work had become awkward. After Tom confronted Sarah publicly at their office, their relationship became the main topic of office gossip. Some colleagues sided with James and Sarah, saying adult relationships are complicated and no one should judge. Others, especially those who knew about their deception, stopped talking to them altogether. Update 3. It's been 6 months since my original post, and I wanted to share how everything turned out. After all the drama and pain, I finally found my peace. The path here wasn't easy, but I'm in a much better place now. According to Rachel, Sarah got a job offer from a company in California and moved there 3 months ago. Apparently, their perfect relationship didn't survive reality. Once everything was out in the open, their connection started falling apart. They tried dating openly after both Tom and I left, but without the thrill of secrecy, things changed. James started showing his true colors at work too. After Sarah left, he tried to paint himself as the victim, telling colleagues she had pursued him aggressively. He even tried spreading rumors that Sarah had done this before with other coworkers. Rachel told me he became quite unpopular at work, with most colleagues seeing through his attempts to shift blame. Tom and I stayed in touch and supported each other through this period. He moved on and started dating someone new. As for me, I focused all my energy on growing my business. The extra time and emotional energy I had spent worrying about James was now channeled into my work. My online jewelry store has grown significantly, and I even hired 2 part-time assistants to help with orders. I moved into my own apartment 2 months ago. It's smaller than the place I shared with James, but it's all mine. I decorated it exactly how I wanted, something I could never do when living with James as he always had opinions about everything. The peace and independence I feel in my own space have been healing. James tried coming back multiple times. When things didn't work out with Sarah, he started sending long messages about realizing his mistakes. He claimed I was the love of his life and everything with Sarah was just a temporary lapse in judgment. The old me might have considered giving him another chance, but I'm not that person anymore. Some mutual friends tried convincing me to hear him out. They argued that people make mistakes and deserve second chances. One friend even suggested that this experience might have made James a better person. I shut down all these attempts. These were the same friends who knew about his affair but chose to stay quiet. Rachel recently told me that James got drunk at an office party and caused a scene, telling everyone how much he missed me. Apparently, he's been having a hard time dating because word about what he did spread in our social circle. While part of me feels satisfied knowing he's facing consequences, I've reached a point where his life no longer affects mine. The whole experience taught me valuable lessons about self-worth and trusting my instincts. When something feels off, it usually is. I learned that it's better to be alone than with someone who can lie so easily to your face. Most importantly, I learned that choosing yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary. I'm sharing this final update to give hope to others going through similar situations. It gets better, but only if you make the difficult choice to walk away from people who don't value you. I'm not dating currently, choosing instead to focus on my business and personal growth. When I'm ready to date again, I'll know my worth and won't settle for anything less than complete honesty and respect. To everyone who supported me through this journey with advice and kind words, thank you. Your support helped me stay strong when I was tempted to give James another chance. Sometimes the hardest choices lead to the best outcomes.